Today on the WEInvested podcast, we have Madison Kopta, and she is the founder and CEO of MK Virtual Business Solutions. Madison, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, ma'am, for sure. So, before we get started, can you let the people know where they can find you on social media?
Sure. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, either just as my name, Madison Kopta, or you can find MK Virtual Business Solutions on Facebook and LinkedIn.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. What is MK Virtual Business Solutions?
So MK Virtual Business Solutions, it's really turned into, I guess, a virtual assistant firm, and it started out as just me. Originally Madison Kopta virtual assistant. And I originally began virtual assisting because I wanted to be able to work and bring an income and stay at home with my kids and not have to sacrifice that time. So I started virtual assisting and I started meeting other moms who wanted to do the same thing, but were stuck in, their own jobs. So it kind of turned into a firm where I started hiring, other women in similar situations. So I was able to kind of grow. And that's when it turned into MK Virtual Business Solutions. So it was a little more inclusive and not just me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, doing my research, I noticed that I guess one of your taglines is, you help moms make 5K a month through starting their own virtual businesses. So, what gave you the vision, or what made you want to focus specifically on moms? Not saying that you specifically focus on moms, but what kind of sparked that interest?
It really was from my neighbor was the first woman who came to me, and she's a mom, and she was struggling in her job outside of the home. And I was virtual assisting and just helping her start her own virtual assistant business and get her own clients. That's what really fueled the helping moms aspect of it, as that's been a lot of the demographic that I've worked with.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, what are some of the services that your company offers?
We actually just started offering merchant services. So, setting up businesses with their credit card processing, that kind of thing, and just seeing how much we can save them there. So, a lot of businesses don't realize that there are these fees that they're getting charged, things like that. So, just saving them money there. And we offer graphic design, content and copywriting, do a lot of social media management. Anything that we can save someone time with, I found that that's really the goal for people who need a virtual assistant. They just need time back. So anything we can do to save someone time, that's our biggest goal.
For sure, for sure. And so, you were talking about how you kind of first got started, and you helped someone close to you get started as a virtual assistant. So, once you were able to help them out, help that first person or help that first client, like what emotions were you feeling? Like how did that feel for you to, see yourself helping that first person to maybe put them in a better situation?
I was really honored. Like, you don't always realize you're doing something that's, I guess cool for lack of a better word, but you're doing something that, maybe someone wouldn't have thought of doing, or it is really neat and it is cool that I can work from home. And but most people don't realize that they don't know what a virtual assistant is for starters, and they don't realize that it can be as lucrative as it can be, and it can really be whatever that person needs it to be and whatever their background is. You can be a virtual assistant and focus in that area. So I just think it's just cool that it can really work for anyone, and that was when I realized that, and I just felt really honored that I could help someone.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, like you said, a lot of people may not fully understand what a virtual assistant is. So, what is your definition of a virtual assistant?
I'd say my definition is just someone's right hand. Whoever that is, anyone can need a virtual assistant, and just being there for them, just being their best friend at that time, and just serving someone else. That's really my definition.
For sure, for sure. And so, what would you say are some of the biggest benefits of hiring a virtual assistant?
Oh, I would say, having fresh eyes on something, first of all. You know, you hiring the virtual assistant, you're definitely the expert in your area, but sometimes having just an outside perspective come in and say, hey, like it looks like this from the outside. Sometimes you don't always realize that. And then getting some extra help and seeing how you can maybe streamline something or, you know, outsource something to that person, save some time, and then you can grow. Um, I would say that's, probably the biggest thing.
For sure, for sure. And just kind of doing some research and checking out everything that you have to offer. I see that you have a course on Udemy,
Yeah.
how to start your virtual assistant or freelance business. So, how was the process of creating your course, and what was the idea behind that?
So the course was just my hope to reach more people and have something really compact they could do on their own time and have scripts. Whenever I buy like an online course, if there are scripts or something I can use that's tangible, that's the best. So I've just put together all of my scripts, from reaching out to someone like in a cold outreach or a pitch email. There's that script that I use, and I've got templates for brochures and a resume, which sometimes people who do virtual assisting, they don't believe in resumes, but I do. So I have a template, and putting that together, it was a long process. It took a few months getting all the videos, and my husband's an accountant, so he did some videos on bookkeeping, things like that. So it was kind of a long process, but it's nice now that it's done. We've got a package that we can give to people, which is great.
For sure, for sure. And I also think it's awesome, um, you know, I guess educating the world or educating people on the fact that you can make money from home, you can work from home, and like you said, bring in income. Especially with the pandemic that we're, I guess, coming out of, hopefully coming out of. So, have you been able to see a difference in the interest level since COVID happened and everybody's kind of locked in their homes?
Mhm. Oh, absolutely. I would say the biggest change. So I started officially in 2019, and in 2020, it just became not taboo really to hire someone remotely. Just the idea of hiring someone across a country or even in a different country, it just wasn't a big deal. So it really opened up a lot of doors, I think, for remote work and freelancing.
For sure, for sure. And so, something that you really focus on and we touched on earlier was, helping moms. And so I'm just gonna assume that you're a mom yourself. So, how is it being a mom and balancing running a business?
It can be really hard sometimes. Just time consuming wise, we've had to, hire a nanny part time just to help out. My husband was home for a while. He actually was able to leave his job and come home, and he was kind of Mr. Mom, and I was running the business. And that was great business wise until he got this great job offer and I lost him. So figuring out how to run the business around my kids' lives is tough. And I don't even know that I have a specific answer because it's so like fly by the seat of your pants. Sometimes you're in the stadium at the baseball game on your phone, like, emailing, but you just kind of do what you have to do and move forward. And it's tough. It's definitely tough sometimes.
For sure, I can only imagine. So what would you say an average day looks like for you?
An average day, I'm up about 7, and our kids are we have foster kids, so we have older kids and we have toddlers, so we're kind of across the board. So at 7, I usually wake up, get the big kids up, and we get ready for school. And once they're dropped off about 8:30, I usually will sit down and have the little kids, playing, doing something so that I can do meetings, emails, catching up, correspondence, and then I usually talk to one of my employees who's, working on social media, check in with them, make sure they've got their tasks for the day, check in with them about clients. At this point, for me, it's a lot of just checking in, making sure all the wheels are turning, and reaching out and talking to people. So I try and just do that throughout the day. And honestly, this is probably a really bad mom moment, but I utilize the TV to entertain the kids for meetings and things like that. So um, it changes day to day, but it mostly in the mornings. We got a lot of meetings and things like that.
For sure, for sure. So, when you were getting MK Virtual Business Solutions started, how did you know that you had the right business idea?
I think because I'd just been doing it, I started as a bookkeeper remotely, and then we kind of changed into virtual assisting, and I just kept getting clients, which was great. So I think I ever really thought, oh, this is a really good business idea. Just the business was working, and I just ran with it. We just kept going.
For sure, for sure. And I was checking out your website, and I was I guess it was about the team or meet the team, and
Mhm.
I see that you have a good sized team. Um, when in a it looks like a good sized support system. So, what would you say is the importance of having a good team, and how did you focus on building your team?
So in building my team, I wanted to be able to give them the support and flexibility that I needed when I first started, with my kids and things like that. And I found the more that I can support them and, say, hey, don't worry about this morning, take your kids to, the doctors, whatever, I can handle this. The more I've been able to be there for them, the more they're able to be there for me and take on more things like that. So really it's a give and take, but I found that that has helped build the team. Just whatever I can give to them that I might have needed, I do.
For sure. For sure. And so, you say you've been in this business for over 2 years or going on 2 years now. So can you recall any specific, lessons or even mistakes that were made in the beginning that you learned from that you could maybe pass on to the next person to help them avoid?
Yes. My I my biggest problem is I will tend to overpromise, and that has over the years definitely caused some hiccups to where you want to be able to work 80 hours a week and you just can't. And that's just taught me to take a step back, focus on one thing at a time, and it'll make your clients happier in the long run. Even if the quantity is not there, the quality of your time is going to mean a lot more.
For sure, for sure. And that seems like a common theme and like a common something common that happens is I guess humans naturally tend to overpromise sometimes, and yeah, so I can definitely relate to that because I have that problem myself sometimes too, for sure,
Oh yeah.
for
And it's
sure,
hard, you want to do something really fast or whatever, and it just doesn't pan out, and it just
for
ends up
sure,
being worse.
for sure. So, what would you say is your favorite part about being an entrepreneur?
I think there's just so much pride that comes with it when you say, it's not just a job, it's you, like you created something, and I founded this business, and it's hard. Sometimes it's not always as successful as I want, but it's mine and I can still work on it. And I just think the pride that comes with that in being an entrepreneur is just, there's nothing like it. It's something else for sure.
Yes, ma'am, for sure, for sure. So, what would you say is the single most important reason for your success?
I decided early on. So I had a tendency of being shy, especially on social media. But when I really decided to commit to starting this business, I decided to just go for it and, not be afraid of failing. Like maybe once I decided to commit, it didn't pan out. I just decided that no one cared if it didn't work out and no one was watching me closely. I could fail and it would be fine. And that was giving myself that permission that really allowed me to move forward. sometimes I struggle with it still, but it's allowed me to move forward.
Do you feel like it kind of gave you a sense of freedom to just, do whatever you want to, like, do whatever you want to do?
Yes. And since then, now I'm trying different things all the time with the business, like, oh, let's try this service, see if it sticks. And being able to just get out there and say, hey, now we're doing this. And a few months later, maybe that didn't stick and it peters out. That's okay. As long as you're out there and just moving and seeing what works, something's gonna work and stick, and you can keep going with it.
For sure. And actually, speaking of social media, that was the way that I discovered you and your company.
Oh.
Um and I think you have a great social media presence and a great online presence. So, what role has social media played in expanding your business?
Social media has actually been the primary source of how I found my clients and the members of How to Start Your Virtual Assistant business. It's all been on social media. And with it being virtual, it's a great place to start to find your clients and your community. So honestly, I wouldn't be here without social media and, getting on it and just getting out there.
For sure, for sure. And I know it can definitely be a scary thing because that was something that I struggled with for a while. Like, man, do I really want to put myself out there on social media? But it's like that's the only way you'll know if what you have is good and what you people like what you have to offer.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For sure. So, with being in this business for, close to 2 years or over 2 years, um, eh, has there been a specific moment, a critical moment of your business journey, like a fight or flight kind of moment that you can recall?
It was, I would say, I had a tough time in one of my bookkeeping jobs, and this was right when I first started. And I left the job, and I just felt really defeated that that job didn't work out with that client, and that was really defeating. And it just it really knocks your self-esteem, and deciding to, I'm going to try again, I'm going to get back out there. Kind of sounds like dating, but it kind of is. And I think just losing that client really knocked me down, maybe more than it should, but deciding, okay, I had one client, I can do it again, and moving forward. That was a big moment in the beginning.
For sure. And it's, man, I can relate to that like 1000% because it's hard for me to sometimes not take it personal because you like, this is my business, this is my baby.
Mhm.
So it's hard
Yeah,
not to take it personal, but that's something I have to remind myself, like, okay, it's business and not personal.
totally. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. So, who would you say you look up to for inspiration and why?
Oh my gosh, I have this vision board and I have all these women on it that I try to emulate different things about them. But when you ask that, this is like Elle Woods just popped into my head, which is so ridiculous. But I do like how this is so embarrassing. I know I hear myself saying it, but I like how she was so just like unashamed to be herself, and she was successful and she went out there and did it. And I think sometimes I can be so girly, and maybe that's not what I want my business to look like, but it's me and that's who people are hiring a lot of the time. So I'm sorry I said Elle Woods. I'm gonna stand by it though. I
Look, that's crazy because I don't even know who that is. I'm not familiar with. Do you mind
she's
giving me a
a
little background? Yeah.
she's a fictional character. Reese Witherspoon played her, and she's in Legally Blonde.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know all about that movie. Yeah, okay. Okay. Nah, that's cool though, cause nah, that's cool, and it shows a lot like that you can pull inspiration from anywhere. Nah, I think that's awesome. I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's awesome for sure. So, how would you define success as an entrepreneur?
That's funny. I was actually just thinking about a friend of mine's planning our high school reunion, like whatever, hundreds of years ago it was. And I was just thinking about, okay, look, do I look successful? Like if I go back and they see me, like, is that successful? Like, do I need to be embarrassed? Am I in a good spot? And I was just thinking about, well, what is success? And I think for me, I kind of landed on, I really like my job, and I it's allowed me to foster kids on top of have my own kids, and that's something I wanted to do. And I think if you can go home and say, I don't dread my job every day, I don't dread my day-to-day life, I think that's successful. So I decided I'd made it okay.
For
I'd
sure.
done okay.
For sure. For sure. And you're definitely right about that, man. It's a lot of people that
Mhm,
hate going to their jobs every
mhm,
morning and, dread it. So to be able to enjoy what you do and
mhm.
get to do it from the comfort of your own home, man, I think that's a for sure win.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So how would you like for people to remember you and your company?
I would just like to be remembered as kind. Just I'd like for my clients to come to me and just not be afraid to talk about their ideas or who they are, because a lot of times they themselves are entrepreneurs, and their business is so much of who they am or who they are. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. And I want to empower that, and I want people to feel free to be themselves. And so I hope I'm just remembered as someone who made people feel comfortable to be themselves.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what does the future of MK Virtual Business Solutions look like?
I don't know. I was talking to my husband about this, and he was asking me, I know you like virtual assisting, but if you could do the same thing every day and it was great, like what would you want to do? And I'd really like to move the business, or maybe even open up another side of the business that really focuses more on event planning, because that's really where my heart is, and in planning showers and weddings. And now that the pandemic is hopefully kind of coming to an end slowly, we can build that out a bit more. So I'd really like to, have the people doing the virtual assistant still have that side going, but maybe not be a part of that as much and move more into event planning.
No, I think that's awesome. And it really sounds like um it's a way that those two businesses and two ideas could work together in tandem to, both benefit each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. However, that would look virtually, but I think there could be a way.
For sure, for sure. Well, Madison, thank you so much for your time. And before we leave here on the We Invested podcast, we like to play a rapid fire question game. So
Okay.
if you're willing to answer a few questions, I'll go ahead and get started.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so nervous. Yes.
All right. Question number one. Where's your favorite place to travel?
Oh, I'm going to say Whiskey Town Lake. That's 15 minutes from us. That's not far. That's not traveling, but I just love that place.
I've never heard of that place before. So why Whiskey Town Lake?
Well, I like love our town. I love Reading. I love where we live. And I grew up here, and it's wonderful. And Whiskey Town Lake is just this cool lake that used to be a town, and you can scuba dive down into like the old, I don't do that. I would get scared, but you can scuba dive down into the old church, and there's a road, and it's beautiful. And it's just my favorite place in the whole wide world.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so question number two. What song explains your life the most?
Celebrate good times. Celebrate, celebrate. That one.
Nah, nah, that's a great song. No, I like that choice. That's a great decision.
Thank you.
All right. Now, final question. What's an amazing thing that you did that no one was around to see?
um that no one was around to see. One time I was a musical theater person a long time ago, and there's the musical Phantom of the Opera, and she sings this really high note at the end of the like main song, Phantom of the Opera. And I one time sang it and hit the note, and I was alone in my house, and no one will ever know.
Oh, that's crazy. Can you remember any lines, or can you remember that song
Oh, I
to
can remember the whole song.
would you mind giving us a little sample for the
Okay.
podcast, for the viewers, for the
Oh
listeners?
gosh. Let's see. Here we go. Um, In sleep he sang to me, in dreams he came, that voice which calls to me and speaks my name.
Oh, that was dope.
Thank you.
Hey, that was dope. That's the first time ever. That's the first time ever we ever had anybody sing on the We Invested podcast.
Cool. That's
Yeah, that
awesome.
was hey, that was awesome. That was so dope. I can't believe you did it. Oh man. Well, Madison, thank you so much for your time today, man. I had a great time chatting with you and learning more about virtual assistants as well as MK Virtual Business Solutions.
Thank you. This was so much fun. Thank you so much for having me.
That's awesome. All right.